I want to tell you all about my high school art teacher. She was this short, petite, super fit woman, and she used to wear these really tall, high heels to make her appear taller and bigger than she actually was. She had this bright red and blonde, fiery, curly hair, and a smile that was shaped like a heart. Now, I want to note here that I am not saying that her smile was shaped like a heart to endear you to her or to make her appear to be this warm and fuzzy character, because she wasn't. And that is further evidenced by the fact that whenever she would smile, her eyebrows would naturally scrunch in her forehead. So it had a way of making her look scary and definitely intimidating, especially to 14 to 18-year-olds. But I digress. My teacher with the heart-shaped smile and angry eyebrows was a complex character. I remember, especially in high school, I found it so difficult to wrap my head around somebody like her. Looking back, I realized that that's actually what made her such a phenomenal art teacher. But I don't know if it was my own perfectionism or my intense need for achievement, but I think the fact that I was so intimidated by her blinded me to a lot of the lessons that she was working to instill in us. But there's just something about a good teacher. Now that I'm an adult, I find myself picking back a lot of her isms and trying them on for size. Some of my favorites that I still use in my art practice today: make sure you put a little chocolate in your peanut butter and some peanut butter in your chocolate. Translation: every artist in their pieces and in their portfolio is striving for cohesion. And an easy way to achieve cohesion is through a little bit of repetition. So if you're using red on this side of your piece, repeat it over here. Draw your viewer's eye all the way around your piece. Another one: that looks great. Now destroy it. Translation: you've created technically a really beautiful piece of artwork, but it is boring to look at. Make it interesting. Cut up your canvas and put it back together. Smear paint over your subject. Make me want to look at it for a long period of time. And lastly, if you're gonna serve me shit, it had better be on a silver platter. Translation: you clearly didn't finish your assignment, and I can tell that you didn't finish your assignment, but I can also acknowledge that you came in here and you presented it with confidence, so I'm gonna give you some points for that. But tonight, I'd like to talk about what I think has become my favorite lesson of hers, especially now that I'm a full-time artist. It starts with something scary, something haunting. It starts with the art underneath the bed. My teacher with the heart-shaped smile was a very talented artist. She had actually won a full-ride printmaking scholarship for college, and she had a really strong relationship to the Las Vegas art scene. But despite all of this, she refused to create new work or to show her work publicly. And you know, we're high schoolers. She's teaching us art. All of us, we would pine to see her artwork. But whenever we asked about it, she would always respond with, "Listen, I put my art and all of my supplies underneath my bed a long time ago. Haven't touched them since." Even repeating those words today, I still get a shiver up my spine. Because isn't there something particularly haunting about all of the artwork that you had created and all of the potential artwork that you could create being hushed up and stored away underneath the dark and lonely bed? I remember my classmates and I would always kind of hold that truth at about an arm's length distance. We didn't get it, and she also didn't really make it her business to give us the gift of understanding. But I'm gonna fast forward us to the last day of school, because I think that this, in her weird way, was her way of doing that. So, last day of school, we're about to graduate. We're in the art room. Some of us are sitting on top of the tables. Some of us crisscross applesauce on the ground. And she's giving us her final goodbyes. And she says, "Today's the last day of school. You all are about to graduate. Yeah. You've had 4 years with me. I've taught you a lot. But honestly, if you take none of that with you, take this. It doesn't matter who's good. She paused. Yeah, it doesn't matter who's good. Actually, you're all good. You're all good artists. You've had 4 years of training to ensure that you're good technical artists. But that doesn't matter anymore. We sat with bated breath waiting for her to get to the point of her message. And she did. She said, "What matters is who continues." Immediately, my brain went to the art underneath the bed. If I could sum up 17-year-old Ashley's thoughts, it would be something around fear and disappointment. Because how hypocritical! My art teacher, who had taught me everything about art making and is now giving me this advice to continue, didn't continue. And honestly, if I were giving this speech before you today as a 17-year-old, I would have been angsty. That probably would have been the end of the talk. How depressing. My art teacher didn't continue. She gave me this advice and then she didn't. So then in your artwork, make sure you continue. But I'm 27. It's been 10 years. I have a little bit of nuance. I've done some growing and reflecting. And I realized that I had actually taken that lesson completely the wrong way. The job of an artist is simply to create. Yes, artwork, but also to create opportunities and to build relationships and to invent new ways of seeing, to build new worlds. And all of that requires intense but beautiful periods of resting and reflecting and crying and creating and sometimes destroying. My teacher with the heart-shaped smile and angry eyebrows totally continued. She taught generation after generation of students how to decenter realism from our practices, how to inject a little bit of abstraction into our pieces, how to build cohesive portfolios. And most importantly, she, in her art practice, took pause. So now, standing in front of you today at 27, as a full-time artist, thank you, I can honestly say that that's the end of my story. As artists, we're rewarded when we create, but we all have art under our bed. Creation, though, needs to go beyond the canvas. So in these moments when our works need a bit of rest, that's totally okay. And even though we're going to give it that time to rest, we must never let our art be forgotten. Thank you.